What is up, everybody? Welcome to the stream. Let me go ahead and turn this down a little bit. All right. Sounds good. Y'all ever do that thing where you look at the clock? You're like, fuck, I got time for whatever it is. Some people trying to take a shit. Some people trying to smoke. Some people trying to fuck before they go do stuff. But you always, I got time. And then I didn't. No, I mean, that's the long story short. Oh my God, thank you, camera. I forgot all about this. Hey, beautiful. Nice big, delicious glass. Orange juice. Today as a guest, we will be having Bad Wolf, handmade. She'll be joining us when she can. That's one of the best things about our show here today is that it's kind of like a drop-in, drop-out format for the guest who wants to talk about the stuff. Not everybody has the same time in the morning available that we do. So we're going to kind of just chat about love, talk about love amongst ourselves. And when our guest is ready, they'll let us know. And we'll get them in here and start talking about getting their opinions. And, we can catch them up on what we talked about, too. Give them some links and no worries there. So love. I was going to do this in February, the month of love. But I thought, fuck it. Let's do it during the second most popular season of love, the Christmas season, the holiday season. The hip folks call it cuffing season. That's going to be, I'm going to be y'all's liaison into what the cool people are saying, because apparently, if y'all knew that already, then you're in the cool kid crowd, and I'm not. Apparently. So everybody's trying to find a boo. Everybody's trying to find somebody to snuggle with. Everyone's trying to find somebody to get through this pandemic with. And it's quite a, not to be cliche, but strange journey. The topic today is going to be more about than just like romantic love, right? I know some folks have kids, some folks have pets. Speaking of love, on an outside of romantic scale, like think about the love between friends. It's been a tough year for that, for a variety of reasons, but big glaring ones are obvious. It's hard to keep in touch with the friends and the family. That's kind of part of the reason why we started doing this, the talk show, because it's nice to tell everybody, hey, here's where I'll be this time every week, and if you want to come hang out, come hang out. But we're going to talk about love and what you do. It's other kinds of love. How many of y'all doing what you love what you do? Do y'all think it's true that if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life? Well, now that we're talking about it, that's such a topic. That's such a topic that we throw around so quickly with a lot of things. Love. Y'all know folks? I know some folks who use that word a lot. And you kind of know that person when they're like, I love potatoes and I love carrots and I love that person I met at the grocery store. And I love that. Oh my God, I love that little grasshopper picture that you put on Instagram. You're like, interesting. So when you say you love me, where's the scale here? What's the relative? Is there a relative love scale? I find that I've connected even more with my friends this way than I have, when in-person stuff was available. But it has taught me a newfound appreciation for that. A lot of times I didn't prioritize hanging out with friends and stuff. Sometimes the self-care days that I took were a lot, which is another kind of love we'll be talking about today. Self-love. What do you have to do to take care of yourself? We could also talk about that. Hold on. Why are we writing this down? Self-love, we just talked about. Oh man, Notepad Plus, giving us the tab options. Love for hobbies. That's such a fun word to say, and appropriate for the topic of love. Passions. Is that like I'm not going to Google it for obvious reasons, but that's like I almost did too. I was like, I'm going to Alt-Tab and Google it, and I was like, my internet broadcasty brain was like, probably not a good idea to do on live internet television. But isn't that like a chain of sex stores? Passions? It sounds, and if it's not, it should be. You're welcome out there. Any inspired sex store entrepreneurs. You can have that one for free. If you want to send me a little coupon in the mail every now and then. Cool. Awesome. Let's define the difference between love and passion. Wonderful idea, Torgoth. Define love. I'm going to do define passion. Passion. Extra S. Passion. All right, love first. This says an intense feeling of deep affection. Okay. A great interest and pleasure in something. That leaves it vague for us, doesn't it? We use it as a verb. Feel deep attraction for. Inspiring elaboration. Like or enjoy very much. Okay. Well, shit. So I think, as we were talking about earlier, I think folks who say they love this and they love that and they use the word sparingly or freely, maybe they're onto something here. Maybe other people are overthinking the definition of love. Let's define passion. Strong and barely controllable emotion. I don't know about y'all, but that feels way more like love. Does it not? Holy fuck. Look at, what a buzzkill. Can y'all look at, oh my God. Let's go ahead and look at definition number 2. The suffering and death of Jesus. Talk about a boner killer. This is going to get me canceled by the Pope. Although, I will say, that's probably a kink, right? Y'all think that's a kink? So I guess I shouldn't kink shame. I retract. And literally with the zoom too. That's wordplay. But see, we need to get a button. What's y'all's love language? Chicken, what's your love language? Hero, what's your love language? So mine, and I want to hear y'all's too. So I better hear the clickety clackety of those keyboards right now. I think I like to receive love in this order: physical touch, acts of service, words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts. And I think I show my love in, here we go, physical touch, acts of service, words of affirmation, receiving gifts, quality time. Sometimes I feel bad that quality time is the lowest on showing love. Because but my mind is all over the place at all the times. So catching me is kind of tough sometimes. Which is, again, another reason why we started the show. Wait, there's a test? Yeah. Fucking, are we going to Google it? We're going to Google it for you. Because there's 2 people interested now. Love language test. You know what? Why don't we take one? Well, we're going to take one on stream right now with y'all. Maybe, oh my God, y'all. What if, hot conspiracy, hot take. This is why we come to Sunday Tea. What if Bill Clinton and his wife were like, what if they just had an open relationship, but they were really good at it because in the 80s and 90s and he's the president. And what if they're like, man, I'm tired of you being president. And Bill's like, yeah, me too. She's like, how can we get you out of here without you going to prison? Bill says, I got an idea. And it worked. And he's still invited to dinner with past presidents. Think about it. He's not in prison. I wonder if Bill Clinton still gets the president's salary. You think? You imagine getting a blowjob on the desk of the Oval Office made from a ship? Still get, what, $400,000 a year and invited to dinner with Obama and George W. When they have those dinners in the future, do you think that they're gonna have a high chair and a bib for DJ here? If I ever get a chance to meet Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton, is that his wife? That would be fucking hilarious. That's his wife, right? I'm not crazy. I knew it. One is Hillary's like pretty confident in who she is as a person. I think that they do seem like they would totally both be fine with that type of romantic situation. If I ever get a chance to meet Bill or Hillary, Billary, as they'll from henceforth be known. Does henceforth mean what I think it does? Henceforth. I knew it. Yes. If I ever meet Billary, I'll ask him, hey, can y'all have ghosts? Oh my God, I don't know, but if Hillary Clinton did kill Jeffrey Epstein, I'm not sure I want to be alone in a room with her. She wouldn't kill me. Oh my God, but what if I said that out loud and it was true? Maybe. Okay, well, I'm 25 to 34. I'm in the United States. Have you read the Nope? I haven't. It's more meaningful. Oh, okay, so we're going to jump right into the quiz. We're just going to change the topic. Skirt. Skirt. Like there's a wall in the road. I don't know about y'all, but I'm nothing against the Secret Service. Oh, finally. Holy shit. Good God. Is this what we said? I'm pretty sure this is what we said. This is the way that you receive love, right? This is a bit of a selfish little blog here. Is it supposed to be for both? Because that feels... Does it just me or does this not equal up to 100%? 40%. Then we got 34%. So it's 74%. This, holy shit. All right, now we need the calculator. We need to verify that my math doesn't suck. It might suck because it does sometimes. Just be like that. 17. Oh, busted. Oh. Maybe it's probability and they're all relative to the total capacity in which you show love in regards to the time you have available. Like physical attention for me in public has to be very hit and go. Like birds hunt, right? Hit the ground, hit the water, get the fuck out. Cause like I'm a fast walker and I'm a little bit claustrophobic, so I don't like to be like restricted while I'm walking. And sometimes, especially if I'm like really stoned or drunk, it's fun to like lean on each other while you hoorah down the fucking street. I totally do that. But like most of the time, I'm like, give me a hug, come touch my butt, give me a little smooch on the cheek, give me a little pat on the cheek. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I can't believe the fucking website was 101%. They thought we wouldn't catch them. They thought we wouldn't know. Busted. How's that for pattern recognition, SAT? Y'all ever wash a delicate sweater in regular clothes? I did that recently and completely ruined this sweater. But the inside of it is very comfortable, and to use the buzzword, I love it. Sometimes you just gotta learn that lesson the hard way. I learned it when I was 30 with my favorite sweater. Because, people have been telling me that for all my years. I'm like, that's fucking stupid. Why would I do that in the wash? Then I started buying really soft clothes. And then I was like, whoa, you're not as soft as you were going in there. I can't stop thinking about, and I know I changed the subject, but that was mostly just a joke. Bill and Hillary's very sexy open relationship. Do you think that Bill serenades Hillary with the saxophone? As a saxophone player myself, do you think, because I often find myself wishing I would play the saxophone more. Do you think that he's fallen for the same trap that I did? Or do you think that he makes the time? Our guest is here. You want to meet our guest? Our guest this week, like we said, is Bad Wolf Handmade. Let's get a call going. Let me pause my music. I know y'all can't hear the music, but then I should turn the audio back up. Oh, ring-a-ding-a. Hi.
Good morning.
How is it? Oh, it is morning still. Wow. See, I was thinking to myself last night at 2 a.m. when I was enthralled in World of Warcraft, which, to use today's buzzword, I love very much.
Lovely.
I thought to myself, you should really change the show time from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. because why are you making yourself get up so early on a fucking Sunday? Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm so sorry for the. Am I allowed to call them technical difficulties?
Yeah, you totally can. Well, and we were talking to the we were all talking about our love languages, and we fill the time because I'm a gabby bitch, and the format of the show is very jump in and jump out, so it's built in that it's modular. You can go if you got to go, or if you don't have all 2 hours, you can jump in. So not a problem. No worries, no worries. All right, we're gonna introduce you before I ask this next question, but remind
Okay,
me the topic is gonna be you living in a haunted house. Okay.
absolutely.
All right. So just to let everybody know who we're talking to is Bad Wolf Handmade. For the purposes of today's show, it's Bad Wolf because that's a lot to say at the same time. A very
Mhm.
good friend of ours. Do you want to use your first name? Do you want to use Bad Wolf?
No, Jess is fine.
Oh, my chat is in your face.
Ah, what are you doing?
I
It's
fixed
too
it.
early for this.
I fixed it so fast. So fast.
No, Jess is fine. Strangers call me Jessica. Friends call me Jess. So
Yasika.
absolutely. What?
Friends call you Yasika.
Yasika. That's only on Instagram.
Oh, okay. Yas. I'll call you Jess if that's okay. Hero, who's Mac G Mania in chat, says friends call me Jess, but what about loved ones? What do they call you? Do they still call you Jess?
Hi, Hero. By the way. So my family, like closer loved ones, usually just call me Jay. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So this is an interesting one to talk about love, romantic and otherwise. We actually have a really good friend of the family that lives with my parents. Just because it's not blood related, but really close friend that I've known for uh, at least a decade. And that really close friend stays with my parents, and they all live together and run the businesses and everything together. And they all seem to be really, really happy. So yay,
Cool.
adult roommates. Let's normalize that.
I want to live with your
Um,
parents. That sounds fucking heavenly.
Dude, it's great, and the three of them just like it's a really good balance. And I think that's one of those examples of love, a non-romantic love existing outside of societally expected uh
Norms.
expressions
Yeah,
of
yeah.
love. So yeah, the at least my family, those group of folks, my grandparents, my aunt, my uncle, when I still talk to them a lot. Yeah, for some reason, Jay. I don't know if it
Interesting.
was I'm sure it was out of endearment.
Yeah, or laziness, right? Well, we don't say the whole ass fucking name. That's a long ass name. That's like 2 whole ass syllables. Good God.
We all do
Oh my
talk a
God.
lot,
Guess
so
what?
having a shortened syllable is good.
So can you can't see my camera. Do you have the stream up by chance?
I do. I have you over on my phone.
Look what it says on my cup. I found this. I found this cup, and I picked it up because it's a Yeti cup.
Okay, we're gonna have to go with the delay on the camera. I
Uh-huh.
just got your ooh, I'm excited face. The suspense is killing me.
Yeah, yeah, me too now. Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
that's
That
perfect.
it is. It is. Yeah, but no, that's a good point about like not necessarily romantic love that humans can have for each other. It's really awesome that your parents are living with this other person who's just a grown ass adult. Like I said, I would love living with your parents. That'd be a really fun situation, and it's cool that they
It's a
can do
cool
that.
place to be.
Speaking
Yeah,
of,
I really
sorry.
enjoy it. It was a really sweet story too, because right about the time I started my current employment path, and I started moving around for work a lot, my parents just life circumstances, they got a little tired of where they were at, and they wanted to move, and so between the place that my dad was working at, kind of facilitating that, and my mom being ready to jump on and just kind of try something different for a little bit, they ended up moving. And then this other friend of ours, kind of got to that point where they were getting a little tired of things that were going on where they were at, and they said, how are things out there? And my parents were still really enjoying it where they were, and they said, it's great. And he said, I'm feeling kind of stagnant here. The work isn't giving me a whole lot of opportunities. The music scene isn't giving me a lot to work with.
Hmm.
And my parents just said, well, hey man, if you want to find a way to either transfer your job out here or quit and move out here, like you've got a place to stay, if you'll help us around the house, we can work something out. And so I thought that was really cool on
Yeah,
everyone's part.
for sure. Well,
Yeah.
it's like crazy beneficial to have like such a staple of your livelihood like that already taken care of. And and somebody who's willing to say, hey, you do some chores and we're even, like that's probably one of the sweetest human beings. That's like such a selfless thing to do. And I feel like me personally, and I've been in those situations, I go fucking crazy on the chores and shit, right? Like I will scrub your goddamn floors and your toilets. Yeah, I'm even gonna wipe the top of the doors. That's
Well,
fucking
and
cool.
on that note, a lot of the expressions of love and I guess the comfort of love, because I think that a lot of the times we start talking about, especially the L word. I think a lot of people feel like there's a lot of subtext and a lot of
Mm,
extra meaning to that word.
true.
So I think one of the reasons that I'm so comfortable using that as a word, not even like as an expression of my feelings for a romantic partner, but even telling a friend or a loved one, "Hey, I love you," came from the way that my parents raised me.
Mm,
They're very expression heavy people. They're both really intelligent people. And it's really been interesting because I've watched them kind of grow and get a deeper understanding of what love looks like in all sorts of forms. And through watching them and through the way that they raised me, I think that they gave me a lot of tools to have a deeper understanding and a deeper appreciation for the different ways that you can express love. And I,
fair.
I think what you're pointing out there is, yeah, it's perfect. It's great to be able to express that love and say, "Hey, I have means. I'm going to help you out. We can figure out something that's going to benefit both of us, but if I have the means to do something for you, let me do it." And then
Mm-hmm.
for that other person, and I saw Torgoth was agreeing with you when you were talking about like, "Hey, I'm going to go above and beyond, especially
Yeah.
if this is like you're doing something for me, so I'm going to do something for you." I'm the exact same way.
Fair.
Anytime I've stayed over at someone's place, or romantic partners that I spent the majority of the time at their place, when it comes time to cook or clean, and not because those are like traditional gender roles, but because those are things that I have direct control over.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
I can be like, "Hey, you know what, I'm really happy to be spending time in your place. Let me do something for you that's gonna help me return that same sense of gratitude that I feel from you being welcoming and sharing your time and your space with me."
Fair. Fair. So let me ask, and if you're willing to share, if not, let me know. We'll change the subject. But do you know what your love languages are? Give and receive.
Yeah, so my I kind of run the gamut depending on the day as far as
Sure.
giving.
Sure.
I'm big into words. Whether it's romantic partners or friends. So yeah, as far as giving, I think I lean more towards words for general purposes, whether
Okay.
it's my friends or my family or romantic partners. I love telling people what I appreciate about them, and especially if I know that someone's having a little bit of a rough time.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh yes, this is my time. I'm gonna come in here and I'm just gonna bombard you with all these positive things about yourself
Yeah.
because I want you to see that."
Right.
Unless someone expresses like, "Hey, I'm not really comfortable with that."
Yeah. Stop giving me compliments, you fucking weirdo.
Exactly. For romantic partners, I think um, I think I lean towards acts. And is gifts a
Mm-hmm.
different one, or is that still
No,
part of
that's
acts?
that's 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 a different one.
Okay,
So
okay.
we did the love language test just as a quick tidbit.
Mhm.
Before you got here, we did and I just also want to point out that a lot of the stuff that you had mentioned in terms of the way you were raised affects the way that you love, and that we a lot of the stuff that you talked about when you were telling us about the situation that your parents were in with the friend and the way that you were raised in regards to how you love, we like were already just talking about. So I was going to ask you all of those questions and they were all just immediately answered. So like somehow every time I do this with my friends, the conversations flow perfectly, that it just matches with what we were talking about. So that's fucking cool. I just want to give you that little quick tidbit. Um,
Well, I think it's
Go ahead.
I think that's part of a facet of your communication style.
Sure.
One, you're easy enough to talk to, and I don't know, man, like every conversation that you and I have ever had, it just flows really, really
Mm-hmm.
well, and you leave enough room for people to give what information they can, and then if there's something else that you want to add or you want to take away from that, you're good at uh presenting that lead for people to kind of jump on.
Well, thanks, and a beautiful demonstration of the way that you show love through words of affirmation. speaking of the love languages, so we took the test before you showed
Mhm.
up, and um, my test totals, mine were physical touch, and it doesn't elaborate on. Now there are different tests. It doesn't like give you a full breakdown of all of the ones. I imagine that if it did, it would be a big test just based on what I took for the single person test. But
Mhm.
mine's physical touch. Um, and as a quick joke, my totals, because it gives you totals of what your love languages are. My totals added
Mhm.
up to 101%. So anyway, we had a laugh about that, but mine's physical touch. So and that's when it comes to friends and family, same deal to what you were talking about, right? You show it through various different ways, and I don't even know, like that's you bring up a really good point in terms of it changes based on the situation that you're in and who you're talking to and where you're at, because obviously I'm going to show physical touch different with a romantic partner, say in public, than I am with like my friends in public. Um,
Mhm.
it's just going to be a little bit different. So that's a really good point that it changes from place to place, um, and person or situation to person or situation. That's well said. Hey, what's the name of that test where people are like, I'm an ENFP? Is that a Myers Briggs?
That is the Myers-Briggs personality type.
Do you know what yours is?
Uh, Mine has changed a few times,
Okay, I
especially
heard
over
that
the year.
happens. Yeah.
I think these days I am. I was E. I was extroverted for a very long time, but I think these days my results are a little more towards I.
Oh, sure.
Uh, yeah, so I think right now I'm an INFP.
I'm
One of
just
the other
gonna.
ones that I see brought up a lot is there's a color personality inventory. I can't remember if anyone in the chat knows it better than I do. I've taken it a couple of times. I've seen it in a couple of different iterations where they'll give you cards or they'll give you like a list of phrases or words to choose from, and then you end up there's four colors that's like orange, gold, green, and blue, I think. And each of the colors, like your score, it gives you one of those X and Y axis, and you've got points that are further
Oh,
out and
okay.
further in. That one's actually a pretty cool one too. It kind of is that. Oh yeah, okay. I see you got the Myers Briggs results pulled up on the feed.
Yeah.
So yeah, the colors or the true colors personality inventory or something. Um, that one's pretty cool too because it'll break down like what your motivation style is. I believe is the gist of that one.
Okay. So not only
Yeah,
how you love, or how you operate more widely, but also what motivates you to operate that way.
exactly.
Cool.
That one's more for like work purposes. I see that in a lot of
Okay.
work team building activities.
Not necessarily like romantic or love or otherwise situations.
Not on the surface, but I would argue that for me, so because I have this anxiety brain that likes to sit there and chew on things and mull them over in my head all the time.
Sure.
I think that motivation can give you understanding the things that motivate someone. Whether it's because the different colors in that test for this example break down into like ordered and organized. Green personality types like to have everything written in pen in a calendar.
Oh, so it's just
On
like,
something is
oh, okay.
yeah. So I think if you understand someone's motivation style a little bit more, it can give you some insight into one, who they are as a person, because I think that the more that you know who someone is as a person, the more capacity you have for love for that person.
Sure. I think
I
so
think
too. Yeah.
you can love someone at face value, just be like, hey, you know what, you're a human being, you go through crap just like I do, like I love you.
Would you
Um
say the opposite is also true, that you can love somebody less and less the more you get to know them?
Absolutely. I have known a handful of people like that in my life.
Same. Same. Cool. Just as important as what a person is doing is why they're doing the thing.
I was gonna say, I think the more you understand someone, I think that can help you understand how to communicate
Right.
effectively with them.
Right. Well, and it also helps with conflict with that person too. That prior context and how they're kind of dealing with things in their life, or kind of some of the things that they might be going through, does kind of, at least for me, help with understanding why the person is reacting the way that they are to any sort of situation, and
Hmm.
more importantly, how to help. At least
Absolutely.
if how to help is a skill set I have, and if not, then trying to find the right resources.
If you can identify something, if you can identify one of your shortcomings, like if you can tell that the way that you're trying to resolve conflict isn't working the way that you want it to,
Hmm.
and you can identify, oh, well, this is a priority for this person. I'm not real good at that. You can figure out like, hey, maybe I can learn more about how to do this or that, and
Right.
that can not only help you become a better at expressing that love and supporting people through conflict, but can help you learn a little bit more about yourself and give you more reasons to love yourself.
Good. Well said. Good point. Good point. Chicken says in chat, I'm a helper, so it's hard for me to know that someone doesn't really want help; they just want to vent. Yeah, I'm the very same boat. The one thing that's helped me the most in that situation is always asking somebody. Let me try. Let me rephrase. Trying my best to always ask somebody, "Hey, are you looking for a solution? Are you looking to vent?" And I do run into a lot of times where someone is saying, "You know what? Hey, if you have, I'm here to vent, but if you come up with solutions while we're talking, then fucking send it." Other folks, I've had folks that are just like, listen, I don't need your help. I just really want someone to talk to about this. I'm like, fucking rant away. And at that point, I'm very good at like you said earlier, really diving into actively listening to what they're saying and trying to make sure that I understand and comprehend. As many of you know, I'm very big at asking questions if I feel like I need clarification, or
Hmm.
I just ask a lot of questions to make sure I understand things correctly. And but yeah, I'm 100% like I want to fix this problem, but I have gotten pretty good at the oh no she didn't. So what about you?
Well, I think I have the same chicken. I definitely identify with what you're saying, and yeah, Bo, I've been on the receiving end of that hey man, are you looking to vent or do you want solutions? And I personally, I find that really really helpful, and I think that that's a great tactic, because the times that you've asked me that, so first off, it makes me pause and gives me a second to think about what am I intending to achieve with this conversation. So you help me kind of get my intentions set,
Oh, good.
and it also it's reassuring because so many times we go in there and we just start rambling off, and one person wants one thing, the other person is expecting to give the other thing, whether it's solutions versus being heard.
True.
um and the fact that whoever you're talking to would take that time to be like, hey, I want to support you the best I can. Do you want to vent? Do you want me to try to help? What do you How can I be there for you right now? I think that's another layer there. Not only do you get that chance to be like, "Oh wow, I feel heard," if that's what you're looking for,
Mm-hmm.
but you get that sense of, "Oh, okay, this person actually cares about me, so I'm not
Right.
going through this problem alone."
Right.
I think that adds an extra layer there. I think sometimes giving someone, if you reframe it, especially if you think about like, I want to solve this problem. I want to solve this problem for this person. Sometimes the way that you solve their problem is by giving them a chance to be heard.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Well,
got all
and
the neurons firing as fast as I can this morning.
yeah, yeah. Well, um to take something that at least I, and it sounds like Chicken and a lot of other folks feel in terms of the need to fix a problem. Like that is both a way that you can solve their problem and still satisfy, your needs in terms of helping another person. And that's only just a testament. Like this entire kind of segment is a big testament to an important kind of love in self love, because I think that in order to accomplish what we're talking about, it takes a measure of reflection and looking inside oneself. And I think that you can't really love yourself until you start doing that. And I think that it's a big
Absolutely.
misconception that as soon as you look within yourself, that you're going to love yourself. That's because that's quite the opposite for at least myself and many other people that I've talked to about it. And professional or otherwise.
My journey with self love has been extremely complicated, and I'm pretty sure at least everyone whose names I'm seeing in the chat right now can. I hear Chicken kind of giggling in the back of my head
Yeah,
as
me
I say
too.
this.
Me too.
Um, and it's funny. I honestly, I think self love it's dichotomous because it's one of the easiest things that you can do, and I think it's also one of the hardest things to truly do. We expressed a little bit of frustration of like, man, if I could just go back and force all this stuff that I finally understand into younger me's brain,
Yes,
my life would be so much easier.
absolutely.
And there were so many conversations when Chicken and really good friends on that same level, that loving mentor role, have pulled me aside and been like, look, I see what you're doing right now, and I think it's partially because you don't know how to actually spend time with yourself in your own space, in your own head.
Right.
Um,
Without hating
and
yourself. Yeah.
and I got to so many points in my life, when I was 17 versus when I was 21 versus when I was, 23. I would sit back and I'd be like, oh, I finally have this self-love thing figured out. Oh, wow, I finally like myself. And then I noticed myself falling back into the same patterns. And then I'd get
Mm-hmm.
to another kind of breaking point and I'd have to, internalize and kind of rest and recuperate and bring myself back to an okay emotional state.
Right.
And then I'd turn around and be like, oh, I finally have self-love figured out. I finally like me. And I keep getting to these higher and higher levels of like comfort in my own head and in my own body. um and I'm again at another one of those points at 30 years old where I turn around, I'm like, wow, okay, I actually really like me. I didn't have it figured out earlier, and I'm interested to see if this is just another one of those moments where I'm like,
Sure.
oh, hey, no, I could have been doing it better the whole time.
Well, and I think that we have to point out, at least for a lot of folks, myself included, that it's an ebbs and flow kind of thing, right? I think if anything, that's a testament to the human's mind, a human mind's incredible ability to adapt and to grow and to learn. I think that maybe if you don't have that struggle, or if it's maybe not as strong, then there might have to be a question involved in regards to, is this something that I'm still doing, um, and self-reflection. You know what I mean? It's funny that you bring up personal growth, and like how it relates to this is yet another good example of what we were talking about earlier, and how sometimes you just have to learn lessons the hard way. The example that I was using was the sweater that I'm wearing is like my favorite sweater. It's super soft, it's super cozy, and for years and years and years, ever since I was a kid, folks were telling me, "Hey, don't you need to separate your laundry, your delicates and your not delicate clothes, and if you don't, you're gonna fuck up some clothes." And I was like, "That's bullshit, right? Like all my clothes are fine in the washer and have been for the last 30 fucking
Throw them in
years."
there.
And then I got, nice, soft, delicate clothes, threw them in there, and fucking ruined them. All the underwear are not as soft as they were when they were new, and the fucking sweaters are all ruffled and like. But that was a lesson that I told everybody, even people whose opinions I respected and who helped me out in many other situations. Yeah, go fuck yourself. I'm gonna do whatever I want with my laundry. Until I finally stumbled and stubbed my toe, and I was like, fuck, all those people were right. There's definitely something to be said about how often we face that within ourselves. Well, and as we broaden it a little bit with the relationships with the people we love too, uh, and that being the reflection to evaluate what's going on versus where we were. And I think that I don't want to say regret, but the reflection of, holy shit, I wish I would have started listening to this advice a lot sooner. I think that's what helps us as we age, because we have more and more of those moments. That way, when we hear advice, we're like, okay, maybe I won't be so skeptical immediately.
Right? You start remembering all those times that you kind of heard the words and then just said, "Nah, fuck it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go do it this way."
yeah,
I think that there's something to be said for being able to identify humanity in another person. And for me, if I see someone that presents themselves as, flawless, it's almost like learning to skate and then Tony Hawk shows up at the
right.
skate park. I don't know if I'm dating myself with that reference.
No, Tony Hawk
But
is still relevant. He has a TikTok.
oh, does he? I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
go find him.
Have you
I
have you
saw
seen
all
Tony
of
Hawk's
his
Twitter?
I love his Twitter. Oh
Mm-hmm.
my god, I cry. I laugh so hard I cry.
For those of you who don't know, Tony Hawk is, I guess, self-infamous for people telling him that he looks like Tony Hawk, and like kind of butchering it, like, "Oh, you look like that skate dude." He's like, "Yeah, I get that a lot."
That's a really good point, because that comment about nobody wants to learn from someone who's perfect. I saw you mention that you feel like you still don't have your shit figured out, and I don't think there's any problem with that. And I think that that's part of being able to love yourself, is saying, hey, I identify that there are areas that I fall short.
Mm-hmm.
But not but, and. My mom always told me never to use the word but when you're making a comparison, because as soon as you say the word but, it invalidates whatever came out of your mouth before
Before
that.
it, yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So instead of "I love you, but I wish you would help me," you know, around the house more,
Right. Well,
you kinda
yeah,
invalidate that first
yeah.
part,
Yeah. Well, and the
whereas
very
you
the very point of the word "but" is to be contradictory, right?
absolutely. So I still make a conscious effort to try to use "and" instead of "but." Being able to say, I recognize that there are these areas that I fall short, or I recognize that there's things that I wish that I was better at, and I'm really, really proud of, this way that I've been able to, bring some positivity in this world, or I'm really proud of this thing that I've been able to accomplish, or I really love being able to, look at the people that I've formed meaningful connections with over the years. And I think that point about not wanting to learn from anyone who's perfect or who actually has their shit together, I think it almost feels a little insincere when you see someone that's just this paragon of whatever you're trying to learn from them. I think that you lose a little bit of that mentor effect when you don't get a chance to actually see that person humanized.
Oh, absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
And I think that that's because part of learning from a person is also learning how to recover from not I don't want to say just the mistakes because that's too specific, but how you know what we'll just say part of learning is learning how to encounter adversity also. What are you going to do when things don't go my way or the way that they were planned or the way that they're supposed to go, and or what happens if I mess up? How do I recover? How do I pivot? How do I move this into something productive? Because I mean, and there's a lot of folks, specifically in regards to love, both romantic and otherwise, who if they hit a stumble, they hit a roadblock, they're out, they dip, they're like, nah,
yeah,
I'm not gonna pivot from this. I'm not gonna move on. So when it comes to learning from folks who are perfect, how are you gonna learn that? How are you gonna learn how to encounter adversity and how to move past adversity if you don't? Especially if you're already learning through watching a person,
hmm
you're gonna miss that. You're gonna have to learn that the hard way. And I don't know about you, but for me, that's the biggest teacher: failure, mistakes.
absolutely.
That's
Well,
the way I learn the fastest and the best.
I think there's a lot to be said for learning more from your failures than your successes.
Mm-hmm.
Because your successes, those are your moments of positive reinforcement. Those are your moments where you get to take all those skills that you gained from those failures in the past and say, "Hey, look how I did it different this time. I was able to do that a little bit better." Two of the concepts that I've kind of had really reinforced for me in my line of work over the last few years is one, what it looks like to lead from the front,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot of different leadership styles out there, and things are going to work differently for everyone. It's really important to me to be able to see someone who says, "Hey, as a leader, this is the standard. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it," and then to actually have that person take the time to either walk you through it or watch them and be able to learn, okay, so I saw what they did there. That's something different than I would have done. Or I saw what they did there. Maybe if I do it this way, it would go better.
Right.
Um,
Was
and I
it?
think
Is
that,
it learn one, do one, teach one?
yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think having that humanization also makes you able to lead from the front. I think that people that don't embrace their flaws and don't um, allow their flaws to be seen, I think that kind of takes a little bit of that away because
True.
you're not watching a true representation of the process, whatever we're learning, even if it's learning to love ourselves or learning to express love healthily in regards to others.
True.
If we don't have that example of a person that actually admits their shortcomings or identifies like, "Ooh, hey, that wasn't perfect. Maybe I could have done that better." I don't think we're actually truly getting to see that example.
True.
The other thing is resilience. Resilience is, for me, it's probably the most important tool that I have in my toolbox. It's too easy for us to sit here and have these big brain philosophical conversations about,
Yeah.
eh,
Love and
anything really.
leadership. Oh yeah, yeah. Anything. Yeah.
Exactly. But one of the things that you learn to develop is your real-time resilience and your mental agility.
Mm-hmm.
Mental agility is a big one. Because again, even when you're talking about resiliency and being able to reframe perspectives and stop negative thinking patterns, if you don't have that real time mental agility to recognize like, oh hey, I see shit going south right now, maybe it's time for me to start stepping back and fixing this situation. If you're watching the people that are mentoring you and are teaching you, and you don't ever get a chance to see them in that situation where shit goes south, you don't have context for how that might look, and it
Right.
makes it that much harder for you
Right.
to even be able to start practicing that.
Failure in and of itself is hard to overcome in the mind. It's pretty dragging on one's sensibilities in regards to self love. Well, this is a really good pivot to from self love to like professional love. To immediately talk about what you were talking about, the I guess, to be cheesy, love that it takes for a leader to be vulnerable in front of those in whom they lead, in order to show that kind of mental agility capacity. I think that
Mhm.
takes a certain amount of love, especially how failure and mistakes can somewhat be stigmatized. I think less so now, these days, as people are
Mhm.
more and more apt to reflecting, but still, like, there's a certain stigma behind mistakes and failure, and like, if not from those around you, from yourself, it still comes within, like we were just talking about. So would you say that as a leader, that it does take love to be able to do that for your leadees, your charges?
Oh, this is a good question. I'm gonna try not to go on one on this. Okay, so love and leadership. Um, So I think first off that I think that leadership requires love in a couple of different facets. So first off, the love for what you're doing in general. If you're doing, whether you're a programmer or an EMT or a cashier or fill in the blank, whatever you're doing, if there isn't something, because you don't have to love every single thing about everything that you're doing. You don't have to love logging into the computer every morning. You don't have to love driving to work every day. But if there's something about it that you do love, interacting with people, going out and driving big equipment around, solving problems and flexing your creative muscle to find new ways of doing things. If you can identify that love in what you're doing, even in the hard times, I think that that sets you up for greater success in general. And again, on top of that, in a leadership role.
Adds to that mental
And
agility too.
exactly, exactly. Oh my God, we're all bringing it right back around together.
Encapsulating.
Okay, so I think especially on a leadership level, it requires that and a little bit more. Because I don't think that, yes, okay, pay increases are nice and responsibility increases are nice and a little more freedom to do things the way that you want to do them, things that we commonly associate with leadership roles in professional settings. Um, yes, they're nice, and those things are there for people that have the capacity um, to still be loyal and dutiful to whatever they're doing. And on top of that, the people around them.
Mm,
Because a lot
yeah.
of the times when you're in these leadership roles, you're going to be mentoring or you're going to be managing or directing. You're going to have more responsibility given to you that it's your responsibility to delegate to other people.
Right.
And at least the leadership roles that I'm familiar with, something that comes hand in hand with that is training and developing and teaching those other people that you're going to be in a leadership role with, your peers and your subordinates.
Right.
So I think that there's another level of love. And I think sometimes this is one of those areas where it kind of sounds weird to say, like, oh, I love what I do, or, you need to love the
Hmm.
job. Like,
If you love what you do,
no.
you never work a day in your life.
Yeah, yeah. That's a complicated phrase. You can
Hmm.
you can find, and the thing is, you can find something to love or you can find something to hate about any aspect of your life.
True.
Um, that's how I ended up living in Hawaii for 2.5 years, and some days I straight up hated it.
Yeah.
Which are words I never expected to leave my mouth.
Sure.
So I think when you're in a leadership role, there's an extra level. So you've got that love for what you do, because if you get to the point where you hate putting on your boots in the morning, or you hate, sitting down at the computer, maybe it's time for you to think about walking away and doing something new, because it's never too late to change. Like, the human brain is amazing, and if you're miserable doing what you're doing, go do something else.
That's true.
Um, so there's that love for what you do, that idea of being a steward of your profession.
Ooh, well said.
And then on top of that, you have to have a love for the people that you work with. I would argue it's possible to love what you do but hate everyone around you, and I don't think that those type of people should be pursuing leadership positions. And if those types of people find themselves in leadership positions, it's time for them to learn how to at least fake it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, because you're responsible for more than just you, and your mistakes are a bit more impactful.
I think that on a large scale, we have been moving towards being more accepting of leaders and representatives being vulnerable. I think that this is just my personal hot take, but I think that wanting people to be perfect is a really kind of boomer thing. Um, that generation, like, everything had to be, you know, it was all about making things as good as they could be, as flawless as they could be. And I think that with some of the generations that we have taking up the majority of the population these days, we are more comfortable humanizing our public figures and our role models, and, you know, insert position of trust here,
Sure.
whatever word you want to throw in there. Um,
Well, I think that
so
that's a
yeah,
relative thing too, because in regards to the boomer everything having to be perfect thing, I think that that's been a really long curve, dating back to for a really long time. You think about how perception of one's, at least let's talk about like wealth for example. Perception of one's wealth is really important to some folks, in terms of how they're regarded in the world, right? So if they want perfection in all things, if a person wants perfection in all things, I don't. I think that it's been on that curve for a long time. Think like old Victorian time dresses or houses or everything had to be, just spotless and beautiful. Everything's been symmetrical ever since math came out. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Everything's so I think that the idea that things have to be perfect, I think you're right. That is, comparatively speaking, these days, generationally at least, 100% a boomer concept. But I think that they're on the tail end and at the beginning of a really steep curve, upward or downward, depending on what your opinion is, towards human acceptance of one's self and one's mistakes. And, what is that to say about boomers who are like, well, everything had to be perfect in our day, and all of a sudden they're like, why does everybody care about each other all of a sudden? What the fuck? This isn't what I grew up doing. I mean, and that comes back down to what we were talking about in terms of like mental agility and being able to adapt and overcome. And, that's a good point.
Absolutely. No, that is a really good point. And I think it's funny that you bring up the whole symmetry and math analogy, because I think about math and I think about all the different sequences and equations and numbers that we have, and taking into account, just on a very surface level, all of the diversity that there is within math. I think the idea of symmetry is probably the most boring thing that we have out there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm personally pretty partial to the Fibonacci sequence, but it's funny because that it may just seem like an off the cuff throwaway moment, but thinking of something else that has been a great love in my life. When I was in marching band in high school, I
I
was
loved
I was one of
marching
those
band.
people. God, I love
I
marching band.
was too. That's a different way to live right there.
Right? Especially like having that competitive aspect where you
Yeah.
got like the show day, excitement. And
Yeah.
anyway,
Well, I don't know about you, but I loved it when people who didn't understand anything about marching band were like, marching band competitive, and you're like, oh honey.
I remember, I think it was the 2007 DCI World Championships. They did a study. They did a little blurb that they played at one of the intermissions for the show, where they actually hooked up, heart monitors and respirators and oxygen masks to a bunch of the musicians and the athletes that were out there. And they took readings off like one of the guys on the drum line as he's running around,
Yeah.
and they were reading. They're like, this dude's working pretty much harder than half the athletes that you have out there on, the baseball team or the football team or the basketball team.
Yeah.
just in these 13 minutes that he's doing his show.
Right. Well, not only are they doing the physical activity with the marching, but they're remembering what the fucking patterns on the field are. And on top of all of this, they're playing a fucking instrument. And most of these instruments are wind fucking power. They're not stringed
Yep.
instruments. So not only do
Yep.
you have to breathe to function your very physically active body, but you also have to do that while breathing through something that makes really loud noises if you fuck up. And
You got to move
also,
a lot of air, and
right.
it's hard to hide mistakes, man.
And you have to fucking remember what the patterns on the field are. You have to remember where you're going and where all 200 people on the field are going. And the best bands also remember every goddamn note to every goddamn song.
So I was a wrestling manager for a couple of years in high school, and
Look at you go.
yeah, my heart really goes out to those dudes. So I never went through all those the insane freaking workouts and the dieting and the cutting, and I watched some of our I think one of the guys that was the starting quarterback for the football team was also on the wrestling team, and I would watch
Jesus.
that guy go from football season cut down to his actual wrestling weight, and that kid was like living in sauna suits, and it probably wasn't healthy.
Sure.
I should go check up on him on like Facebook or
I should
something
call
and
him.
say,
That's funny.
like, hey bro, how's your liver? I watched those guys. It kind of I'm a really like empathetic person. And yeah, just watching those guys go through cutting and everything that they had to do to get ready for wrestling, and then some of the injuries that I saw out there that you just couldn't have seen coming. It was just one of those moments where, oh hey, someone placed a hand wrong somewhere, or someone posted up in a bad way, and it's a perfect segue there. I think that is one of those things that, like, that's a perfect expression of love right there, especially doing that at I understand at the high
Oh,
school
you mean
level,
in
like there's
reference to like loving what you do?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, because if I sit there and think about, like, well, okay, on the surface, sitting there thinking about, hey, there's this thing that I want to do, and I got to get up super early and go run, and I got to be real careful about what I eat, and I got to be real careful about watching my weight. um I have to do that for work because that's my job, and I don't get paid if I don't do that. Um, but thinking about, like, oh, hey, this is just something I want to do, and then there's all these extra requirements on top of it. To me, that's love. Like, I wouldn't do that unless that was something that I absolutely adored doing with at least a large chunk of my being.
No shit. No shit.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear my new favorite conspiracy about Bill and Hillary Clinton? Billary, as they'll be known from now forward.
Oh, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Okay, I
I
don't
don't
think
like to
this.
think about the Clintons having sex, but send it.
I don't think that this one will get us Epsteined, so I think we'll be okay.
All right.
But oh my god, I love that we've turned that into a verb. I'm pumped about that. So I had a conspiracy theory earlier in chat. We were talking. I was rambling earlier before you got here. Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton were probably in an open relationship, and they had fun, freaky stuff happen all of the time. But they were tired of Bill being president. He's like, I just work too goddamn much. I don't have enough time to serenade you with this sax and do what I want to do for you, baby. And Hillary's like, well, I wish that there was some way we could just get you out of the office, without you going to prison. Wouldn't that be great?
Why do we call Monica?
And Bill says, I got an idea. I got an idea.
Hashtag Bo didn't kill himself.
Well, I was saying, if I ever get the chance to meet them in person, I'm going to like pull them to the side and ask. And I thought to myself, I'm not sure if I want to be alone in a room with Hillary Clinton while I'm breaking or asking potentially groundbreaking questions. And then
Right.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
So I have a similar conspiracy theory. I definitely think that Bill and Hillary were swingers. And I think that either the Monica thing happened and Hillary like knew about it and she was off doing whatever with whoever. And it just kind of oopsie, someone found out about it.
Yeah.
And so, because Hillary
at
was
the desk,
pretty
Bill,
cool,
we talked about this.
right? Like, God damn it, Bill.
You know that thing's made from a ship, right? You know you can't just get cum stains out of ship wood.
Damn it, Bill! I bought you that cigar.
That was supposed to be for us. Oh
That was
man.
for our anniversary, you son of a bitch. Bill realized he didn't enjoy putting the tie on every day anymore,
Right.
and so he tried to find him an out. Maybe Hillary was like, "Okay, it's my turn."
Oh. Okay, so you're saying, oh, okay, and that's why she fought so hard to be the president because she wanted to get head at
Mhm.
that table too. And
Right? Because
mm,
yep, doing her secretary, so senator, secretary of state, and then she's like, "Hey, set me up for this presidential run. We'll let the Republicans come in and shake things up for a little bit, and then
ah,
it's gonna be my turn."
well, and new book. Oh man, band name. I got a band name idea. You want to hear it?
Send it.
Cunnilingus in the Oval Office.
Ooh.
Maybe that's an album title. That feels a bit more like an album title.
I like Cunnilingus in the Oval Office as an album title.
Yeah, you can. Well, use it for your band. Feel free. Hillary and Clinton, like, well, yeah, that whole Monica thing, all part of the plan. And we're like, we fucking knew it. Check out the
Yeah,
timestamp on this YouTube video
heck it,
from
2020 called it.
way back there in 2020. So what would you say that a good baseline or a theory would be to walk away with today in regards to love? Love yourself, love the folks around you, and love the things that you do.
I think a good takeaway is that love is complicated, and while a lot of times we use the word complicated in a negative connotation, I think it's in a positive connotation here. There are so many facets to it, and it's one of those not ambiguous, but kind of abstract concepts that, like, we all get to a certain point in life and we know that love is there. It's a universally agreed upon, like, hey, love is a thing. Um, and because it's so complicated and it's so abstract, that means that you have the ability, perception is reality, and you have the ability to tailor the meaning and the benefits of love to your life. And with that benefit, you have a responsibility, if you care about the people around you, to pay
Fair.
attention to what love means to them. And I think the takeaway should be, we should all be more willing to talk about love, and we should talk about love more, because that deepens our understanding. It helps other people understand us more, and it normalizes the concept that, hey, you can actually love people.
I wrote it first. Love is complicated as wonderful things can be. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's I think that's a good spot to wrap it up too, because we could go on for hours, and we got to save some stuff
Right.
for episode 2. But I think the main
Absolutely.
takeaway of today is going to be love's complicated, and love is mercurial, but give yourself time to grow.
I like it. I
How's
love
that?
it.
All right. I know that we did the love is thing again, but I mean, in some cases, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess.
Some tropes are tropes for a reason.
Exactly. One, because we're doing an episode 2, we can edit that as needed. If anything, that can be the whole point of this episode 2. Help us find a less cliche takeaway. What is
I
love,
love it.
baby?
Hero, don't hurt me.
Don't hurt me.
Don't hurt me no
Oh my
more.
God. I wish that I'd come more prepared for this, because that would have been a perfect outro song. I guess it still can be. Although I'll get DMCA'd, which is next week's episode.
Next week on Sunday Morning Tea with Bo and the Archers.
Next Sunday, we're going to talk about the DMCA situation on Twitch and copyright and fair use. It's going to be fun stuff, although it does sound a little bland when I talk about it like that. So come back and watch how we make that fun. It's going to be good times. I don't know who the guest is going to be yet, because I haven't figured that out. But, keep your eye on things. We'll get that information as it gets closer. But like, I see a variety of people who are like blatantly violating copyright laws and trademark laws.
Unintentionally or intentionally.
Right. You're like, I'm not really sure that that's something that that you should do. All right. Well, cool. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Jess, thank you for your time. Thank you for popping onto the show and going a little late with me. That was fun. I'm really, really proud of you. I know this is going to sound a little weird, but I'm proud of you for the art that you're creating and the things that you're putting out into the world, and how much hard work you're putting into it is really inspiring to see how fast you're growing with that. It's pretty fucking awesome. I also wanted to drop a big thank you for everybody who's in chat. Sai, Rad, Jenna, Chicken, Torgoth, everybody who was here. Y'all are a big part of why this is so much fun and why it's easy to get up. Bruff, come in, drop some fat some fat gifts, some fat words of affirmation, some fat expressions.
Bruff's in the giving spirit, man.
Bruff's in the giving spirit. Like, y'all make this really, really fun. It's, of course, always lovely to have conversations with the guests. But everyone who was here on time, oof. Now we really need a soundboard so we can. Fair. That's the third time that we would have loved a badum-tis sound. And, y'all, I probably will change the show to 11 to 1. I'm going to think about it a little bit more, but, like, I feel like I'm waking up a little bit more. I feel like, you know what I mean? Like,
feel a little more human.
Yeah, we'll think about it. All right. Well, everybody, that is going to be it for today's show. Thank you for being here. Thanks for sticking around. I know we went an hour and changed later. Like we talked about, that's going to happen sometimes. Even if we do move the show to a later time slot in the day, which I'm probably going to do, it's going to go over sometimes. Me and my friends can be some chatty motherfuckers sometimes. Me, myself, I can be a chatty motherfucker sometimes. That's just the way it goes. I hope that you'll have a fantastic rest of your Sunday. It was great seeing you, and I love you. Goodbye. Now we have to count to 5 before we press the exit button, and it's going to cut out in